Hey everyone, I'm here with Amy Tao-Foster. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I am the care counselor for the College of Natural Sciences and also the Asian American Diversity Coordinator for CMHC.
Awesome. Could you tell me a little bit about what that entails?
Yeah, so as a care counselor, I'm embedded in natural sciences. So I work directly with natural science students, clinically directly, to make counseling more accessible. Like I'm across the hall from the dean and not across campus in a separate building. And I have a relationship with the advisors and faculty and student life where I consult and help out and advocate for students.
Nice. So when you're advocating all of that, like what mental health resources do we have as students available on this campus for us?
So of course we have the CMHC and care counseling, but we have a lot of different resources that students maybe don't know about. One of them is the Mind-Body Lab. And there's two. There's one on in the counseling center, and there's also one at the SAC that's open on the weekends. And so the Mind and Body Lab are like self-paced, experiential learning environments where students can access resources on how to improve their mental and physical health.
Nice, that's awesome. So with that, like to improve our mental and physical health, how do you think, like what do you think is the biggest obstacle, like students in general, or maybe perhaps like particularly CNS students are facing nowadays?
Obstacle in accessing resources?
Both accessing resources and like whether it's like outside stressors or anything along the lines like that.
Yeah, so there's an issue of like stigma. A lot of times like we're such a successful college and students are so hardworking, and so there's a hesitation to admit that something is wrong or admit that we're going through struggles because no one else also admits that. So there's a reluctance to do that, and then there's the stigma about accessing mental health. Like I have students tell me, well, am I crazy? That's why I'm here, and I have to normalize it and tell them like counseling is just like a really good place to get support.
Nice. So with the stigma and with all of that, like as students, like I've obviously seen the stigma. A lot of my friends have seen the stigma of like accessing the resources, and it's seen often in like a negative manner. So is there anything like we as students, or perhaps like for faculty or staff members that are watching, to advocate for those students and to advocate for mental health and mental health resources?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that I would like to see that I've been thinking about is really participating in a culture change where we're talking about it, we're transparent about what's going on with us, and we're sharing that it's okay to share, and it's also okay to get help. If we don't talk about it, then we don't have the ability to get help.
Nice. Cool. And then with that, so we're advocating, we're helping ourselves, but are there ways that we can integrate as students like mental health and like self-care into our daily lives that's like accessible for us?
Yeah, definitely. I know that there's a push to like really implementing and integrating the use of technology with our wellness, and so there's a Thrive app for the iPhone at UT that has several like modules and screens for different mental health and wellness, like guided meditation and mindfulness and looking at our thought patterns. And then there's also a piece to also maybe unplugging from our devices and watching how we use social media, because when we get on, we have the tendency to compare ourselves to others, and we're comparing ourselves to others' highlight reel instead of what's really going on.
Absolutely. Awesome. Before we move on to anything, just like personal fun questions, do you have any last words you'd like to say on like mental health and how we can care for ourselves?
I think for CNS students especially, I think it's okay to say no to things, and it's okay to not do all of the things all of the time.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that comes up a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I've definitely seen it. I think everyone here in Natural Science Council and in general in College of Natural Sciences, we all feel that pressure to do everything. So I'm glad and we have options. And could you say where your office is one more time?
So I'm in WCH 2.214 upstairs from the Center for First Year Advising.
Awesome. And do you have to make an appointment to see like people like you or any of the care counselors?
Yeah, so you can talk to your advisor and you get a referral. And then from the referral we can get set up.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. All right. So now that we have that done, why don't we just ask some more fun questions? So, has there been a situation in your life where you've been truly like your breath has been taken away and you were just awestruck?
Yeah, I would say I had a situation like that this summer. So I went to Vancouver, Canada, and I had a colleague of mine a Canadian colleague of mine from the counseling center who recommended this hike, and she recommended it as, she said it was challenging. And I later found out challenging to her meant my heart's gonna explode, I'm gonna puke to me.
Oh my
and
goodness.
so the moment I got there, I realized that it was going to be a 45-degree angle hike, like a strenuous hike. And when I reached the top of it, I just was amazed. Like, the view was spectacular. There were some bears around, and I did what I was supposed to do before, which is Google it. And it was actually turned out to be one of Canada's most difficult hikes, and there was no way that I would have done that if I read it beforehand. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I I had no choice in that way, but I pushed myself to do something like really difficult because there wasn't a way to go down.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. And so we've been high on mountains. What's the biggest roller coaster you've ever been on?
Oh, roller coaster. I wouldn't say this is the biggest one, but being from the Panhandle, we had there was a theme park in Wonderland called Wonderland, and it was the Texas tornado. But it's been quite a while since I've been on a roller coaster.
All right, so a trip to Six Flags is in your calendar then.
It should be, yeah.
All right, and what is your favorite book, either right now or in general or both?
I think this is really nerdy, but one of my favorite books is actually a psych or wellness book called The Happiness Trap, and it talks about the culture of happy means being elated or thrilled, but really happiness means having a meaningful life, and that includes experiencing different types of emotions besides joy. So it's a great book. It's really relatable.
And who's it by?
Ooh, it is. I'm blanking on who.
That's all good. We can Google it.
Yeah.
All right, and our last question before we get wrapped up is, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I think it would be my grandfather. My parents were refugees from Vietnam, and my grandfather was from South Vietnam. My grandfather was a village leader, and he had a big perspective for helping others and building community, and unfortunately he passed away in the war, and I would really just like to meet him.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out. Do you have any last words you wanted to hit?
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here.